Over the past 2 days, we have witnessed to a tremendous interconnection between money and politics, particularly vis-a-vis the Madhu Koda affair in Jharkhand and the open blackmail, if you can call it, by the so-called Bellary brothers into getting the state government of Karnataka having acceded to their demands. To speak on these two affairs and the interconnection between big money and politics, we have with us today a senior journalist of the Times of India, Mr. Shankar Raghuraman. Shankar, tell us more about this phenomena of big money playing a major role in politics and also vice versa.
Well, the phenomena of big money playing a role in politics is actually not all that new.
Yes.
What is new is the brazenness with which it has started playing a role now.
Right.
I mean, after all, Madhu Koda, on the face of it, was a single MLA in the Assembly of Jharkhand.
Right. An independent.
An independent with no people attached to him and so on. The fact that he could become chief minister is one indication of the kind of clout that money can have in politics. Similarly, the Reddy brothers, Karanataka Reddy and Janardhan Reddy, mining magnates based in Bellary, they first entered the political scene when Sushma Swaraj was contesting against Sonia Gandhi for the Lok Sabha seat in Bellary.
That's right.
And at that stage, they were still marginal players in politics. But obviously, they played their cards right by backing Sushma Swaraj at that point, because that gave them access to the central leadership of what was at that point one of India's most powerful parties.
Yeah.
The BJP's power has subsequently declined nationally, but in Karnataka, because the BJP finally managed to come to power, the Reddys are now, it's now payback time for the Reddys.
That's right.
It is, as I said, what is unique to the present situation is the fact that nobody is bothering to conceal the fact that their clout comes from money.
That's right.
And that if they have money, they can buy political clout.
Right. What exactly were their demands with the state government, and why did they raise this sudden banner of revolt? What was problematic for their businesses per se?
See, from the point of view of the Bellary brothers, if you must remember that when the assembly elections were held in 2008, the BJP did not win a majority in the assembly. It was shot by about 3 or 4 MLAs.
That's right.
And it is widely believed that the Reddy brothers had a huge role to play in ensuring that the floating votes in the assembly, as it were, the independents and all, backed Mr. Yediyurappa's government. Obviously, they are not going to play that kind of role without some payback.
Right.
The speculation has been that they were not adequately satisfied by what they got in return, whether in terms of ministerial portfolios or in terms of the kind of officials they wanted posted in their home district and so on. So the revolt had in some sense been brewing. And there is also, it may also have something to do with the politics of Andhra Pradesh.
Right.
Because the Bellary brothers operate, their mines actually operate in Andhra Pradesh, in Anantapur district of Andhra Pradesh.
The Obalapuram mining company.
Yes, the Obalapuram mining company. Anantapur borders Bellary. And the Reddy brothers were believed to be very closely connected with Mr. Y.S. Rajshekar Reddy, the former chief minister of Andhra Pradesh, who died in a helicopter crash. One interpretation of the events, and I find that plausible, is that with Mr. Rajshekar Reddy out of the scene, and with the efforts to make his son Jagan Mohan Reddy the chief minister also having failed, the stakes for the Reddy brothers in Bangalore suddenly increased dramatically. Because they could no longer be sure of favorable political climate in Andhra Pradesh. So they had to make sure that at least the government in Bangalore would be favorably disposed towards them. And that finally proved the trigger for them to try and assert their clout over that government.
When you say favorable political climate, the implication itself means that a favorable political climate is necessary for big business to operate in the manner it has operated.
Absolutely. I don't think there is any doubt. I mean, businessmen are not getting into politics for the kicks of it. I mean, the kicks may be a bonus which comes along with everything else, but they're getting into politics so that they have control over the levers of policy.
Right. So, I mean that takes us to the Jharkhand story, where the same implication flows through into the Jharkhand story as well.
Absolutely.
Where Madhu Koda was a minister in both the Arjun Munda government and the Babulal Marandi government, and later the chief minister, and the level of money laundering and embezzlement and cronyism that has fed the companies over there, which is being alleged in the report so far, point to a similar nexus between business and politics. So that leads to the next question. As it, I mean, the general assumption was that liberalization would actually beat into this nexus and you would see more freer market in that sense. So, I mean, what is your take on this this theory that?
Well, yes, you're correct. One of the strong selling points of neoliberalization, or what in India is called liberalization, was the argument that under the license permit Raj, there are so many discretionary controls in the hands of governments that people in government are able to use that discretion through, for corruption. That you have to pay off people to get a license and so on. And that doing away with discretionary controls will automatically, therefore, also make a huge impact on corruption. But the reality now, 18 years after the liberalization process began, shows quite clearly that the exact opposite of what was argued has happened. I mean, the fact is that nobody in pre-liberalization India had heard of scams which remotely, had scales of anything like 60,000 crore or even 6,000 crores, the kind of money that is being talked about in the Koda scam. And the reason why it has become possible is that entire new areas of the economy, which were earlier reserved for the public sector, mining. I mean, you talked about Koda, you talked about the Bellary brothers. What is common in both cases is the fact that their money has been made out of mining. In the case of the brothers, because they had control over iron ore, which, if you remember 2008, metal prices globally were at an all-time high. And China was buying iron ore like there was no tomorrow. So the fact that you had control over iron ore was in itself enough to guarantee massive profits. Profits which accrue from the fact that you are getting what should be a natural national resource for dirt cheap prices. And the cost of producing iron ore, which is just extracting it from the ground, is a tiny fraction of what you can sell it for. And royalties in India, mining cesses and so on, are too small to make a difference. So they were essentially earning huge amounts out of this mining. The same is true of Jharkhand. Koda, if the reports are to be believed, most of the money has been made by granting mining leases to various industrial houses.
Prospective mining leases. And
now, neither of this would have been possible in pre-liberalization in India because mining was a nationalized activity.
So, in one sense, the story is that even in places where you have abundant natural resources, the manner in which these resources are handed over to exclusive sources actually results in what is called a resource curse, as in
absolutely. In fact, I don't think it's a coincidence that if you look at a map of India and mark all the districts which are have a serious Maoist problem, and you mark all the districts which have serious natural resources, you will find a remarkable coincidence between the two. So in fact, and I also don't think it's a coincidence that there's nothing particularly new about the Maoist stroke Naxalite problem in India. The fact that the central government and state governments have today suddenly decided that it is our problem number one has a lot to do with the fact that these are in areas where there are precious mining resources available, which can otherwise fetch large sums of money for industrial houses and for politicians who are prepared to play along with those industrial houses, but which the presence of Maoists complicates.
And that should conclude our interesting discussion on this issue. Thank you very much.